My name is Min Jung Kim, and I'm the Director and CEO of the New Britain Museum of American Art. Thank you for joining us tonight as part of a series of week-long virtual events to commemorate Martin Luther King Jr. and to honor his life, his legacy, and his vision. As the pandemic continues to impact everyone, everywhere, we are seeing individuals rise to the occasion, and they are emerging as local heroes. Such people are Captain Ricardo Mickens and Bishop Rha-Sheen and Pastor Bridget Brown, who have been working tirelessly to make a difference in the lives of our community and to help us get through these very, very difficult and challenging times. I am delighted to have this wonderful gathering tonight, specifically for our local youth to learn and to talk more about Dr. King's life. The holiday honoring Dr. King provides a critical opportunity to teach and to learn more about his activism, to foster discussions about our country's true history, and to inspire children and youth to be change agents. For we are all called to continue working together in pursuit of social justice, not just on the one MLK holiday, but for every day and the many days ahead going forward. So with that, to get tonight's program started, I want to pass it on to my colleague, Stephanie Strucali, who is the New Britain Museum of American Art's Coordinator of Youth, Studio, and Family Programs. Stephanie.
Hello, thank you, Min, for the lovely opening. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to have all of you joining us tonight. I'm going to be emceeing on behalf of not only the New Britain Museum of American Art, but also the museum's Community Advisory Group, which is a newly formed group of community members from Greater New Britain who are helping to plan events like this one and future events focusing on important themes and celebrations. So I'm happy that, we have this wonderful group of community members supporting events like this. So tonight, like Min said, is all about the kids. We are going to be learning about Dr. King's life, his legacy, and the importance of carrying on his messages of equality and justice. Tonight is just one event in a week-long series of virtual events celebrating Dr. King. The series is called The Power of Love. And like I mentioned, it's presented by the Community Advisory Group, and it's supported by the New Britain Commission on the Arts and the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development Office of the Arts. Let me start off by introducing tonight's partner. We are thrilled to be partnering with the New Britain Public Library on tonight. Joining us from the New Britain Public Library is Audrey Carmen. She's a children's librarian. And we'll hear more from Audrey later in the program about some cool things happening at the library. So we have a jam-packed program ahead of us. We'll see if we can get it done in an hour, but the first portion of tonight is going to consist of a story time led by special guests from New Britain. After the story time, we have an exciting book giveaway. So one lucky viewer will win all 3 books featured in tonight's story time, as well as some cool goodies from the museum shop. And after, we will be looking at some amazing artwork that was created by some New Britain students, some of which you saw in the beginning of tonight's program. And finally, to close out the evening, we will be presenting the Martin Luther King Service Award to outstanding youth in our community. So let me introduce our special guests, which Min already recognized, but I'll go a little bit deeper to why we've invited some of these folks here tonight. So throughout these testing times the pandemic has brought upon us, local heroes have gone above and beyond in helping hurt communities, whether it was first responders who took the biggest risk of all by still showing up to work every day, or if it was folks who lent a hand when they didn't need to. And so without further ado, let me introduce our special guests for tonight, who we call our local heroes here in New Britain. And I'll tell you why. So Captain Ricardo Mickens of the New Britain Fire Department is a graduate of Central Connecticut State University, where he also played for the school's basketball team. And it was during his time on the CCSU basketball team where he started lending his time and his skills to local youth through basketball programs, clinics, community events. He's been with the New Britain Fire Department since 2004 now, and is a member of the Fire Explorer program, which offers teens the chance to learn about fire service and gain experience. So we're really happy to have you here, Captain. Next, let me introduce Pastors Rasheen and Bridget Brown from Right Now Ministries. Pastors and husband and wife, Rasheen and Bridget Brown founded Right Now Ministries in 2005 and have been leading its services and congregational members ever since. And under their leadership, Right Now Ministries has extended outside of its religious services to provide community-based, non-religious social services for youth, families, women, men. Throughout the pandemic, they've remained committed to holding safe, socially distanced services each week for their congregation, and to providing food items and hot meals, delivering those hot meals to folks that need it. And I want to mention their biographies are so impressive, but I want to mention too that their passion for helping others goes beyond their congregation. Pastor Bridget is a bilingual licensed clinical social worker with a focus on mental health and addiction. She's CEO of Spirit, Soul, and Body Clinical Services in New Britain. And Bishop Rasheen manages a car dealership in Waterbury and is an active member of the North Oak Neighborhood Revitalization Zone and Friends of Willow Street Park. So we're also very delighted to have you all with us. So to start off our story time, up first, we have Captain Mickens with a story.
First, let me thank you for having me. I'm definitely feeling honored and privileged to be here. But without further ado, we'll get started. So the book that we're going to read, obviously, is to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King. Here's the cover. And the title is Martin's Big Words, The Life of Dr. Martin Luther King. I'll try to hold it up so you guys can see it. Everywhere in Martin's hometown, he saw the signs, white only. His mother said these signs were in all southern cities and towns in the United States. Every time Martin read the words, he felt bad, until he remembered what his mother told him. You were as good as anyone. In church, Martin sang hymns, he read from the Bible, he listened to his father preach. These words made him feel good. When I grow up, I'm going to get big words too. Martin grew up. He became a minister like his father, and he used the big words he had heard as a child from his parents and from the Bible. Everyone can be great. He studied the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi. He learned how the Indian nation won freedom without ever firing a gun. Martin said love when others said hate. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. He said together when others said separate. He said peace when others said war. Sooner or later, all the people of the world will have to discover a way to live together. In 1955, on a cold December day in Montgomery, Alabama, Rosa Parks was coming home from work. A white man told her to get up from her seat on the bus so he could sit. She said no and was arrested. Montgomery's Black citizens learned of her arrest. It made them angry. They decided not to ride the buses until they could sit anywhere they wanted. For 381 days, they walked to work and school and church. They walked in the rain and cold and in blistering heat. Martin walked with them and talked with them and sang with them and prayed with them until the white city leaders had agreed they should sit anywhere they wanted. When the history books are written, someone will say there lived Black people who had the courage to stand up for their rights. In the next 10 years, Black Americans all over the South protested for equal rights. Martin walked with them and talked with them, sang with them, and prayed with them. White ministers told them to stop. Mayors and governors and police chiefs and judges ordered them to stop, but they kept on marching. Wait. For years I have heard the word wait. We have waited more than 340 years for our rights. They were jailed and beaten and murdered, but they kept on marching. Some Black Americans wanted to fight back with their fists. Martin convinced them not to by reminding them of the power of love. Love is the key to the problems of the world. Many white Southerners hated and feared Martin's words. A few threatened to kill him and his family. His house was bombed. His brother's house was bombed, but he refused to stop. Remember, if I am stopped, this movement will not be stopped because God is with this movement. The marches continued. More and more Americans listened to Martin's words. He shared his dreams and filled them with hope. I have a dream that one day in Alabama, little Black boys and Black girls will join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. After 10 years of protests, the lawmakers in Washington voted to end segregation. The white-only signs in the South came down. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. cared about all Americans. He cared about people all over the world, and people all over the world admired him. In 1964, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. He won it because he taught others to fight with words, not fists. Martin went wherever people needed help. In April 1968, he went to Memphis, Tennessee. He went to help garbage collectors who were on strike. He walked with them, talked with them, and sang with them, and prayed with them. On his second day there, he was shot. He died. His big words are alive for us today. The end.
Thank you, Captain. What a great, great book, and one that's a great way to start off our story time and introduce Dr. King. All right, next, Pastors Rasheen and Bridget Brown with a story that they've chosen to share with you all.
How you guys doing today, tonight, this evening? We thank you so much for having us, and it's an honor to be able to be here with you guys to share in the honored memory of Dr. Martin Luther King, who was an inspiration to us all. And for many of us, we would not be where we are today if it had not been for his sacrifice, right, and the sacrifice of all those that stood alongside of him in his fight for equality. So we've chosen as a collective book, We March, because we know that Martin Luther King will also say that it wasn't him alone, but it was a group effort. This word "we" is very important in this story because it's talking about a collective movement, and that movement is the same movement that Ricardo Mickens was just talking about as well, of him coming together and saying, if I don't make it, the movement will not stop because God is with us. So this is written by Shane W. Evans, and it's called We March. We March. It's a brand new book. Mm-hmm. The morning is quiet. The sun rises. And we prepare. To march. We pray for strength.
That's beautiful.
We work together. We want freedom. is what they wrote. I added that part.
Mhm.
We come from all over to march. We follow our leaders. We walk together. We sing. We are hot and tired, but we are filled with hope. We lean on each other. As we march to justice, to freedom, to our dreams, free at last. On August 28th, 1963, more than 250,000 people gathered in our nation's capital to participate in the March on Washington for jobs and freedom. The march began at the Washington Monument and ended with a rally at the Lincoln Memorial, where iconic musicians such as Mahalia Jackson, Bob Dylan, and Joan Baez performed, and Martin Luther King delivered his historic I Have a Dream speech. Throughout history, there have been many organized marches when people walked together to advance a common goal. The Selma to Montgomery March, which consisted of 3 separate marches that took place in March of 1965, was held to focus attention on the civil rights movement and the need for outlawing racial discrimination. The routes are now memorialized as the Selma to Montgomery Voting Rights Trail. Following these marches, the country enacted 2 pieces of legislation that were crucial for moving the country toward racial equality. The first was the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which banned racial segregation in public schools, public places, and select workplaces. The second was the National Voting Rights Act of 1965, which outlawed discriminatory voting practices that denied many African Americans the right to vote. It takes people of all ages and cultural backgrounds to move a nation into a new era of freedom. In a sense, these marches pushed old ideas out of the way and moved new ideas forward. History shows that where there is change, there will often be resistance to change. However, these events demonstrate that through action and determination, people have the power to overcome the resistance. I have always been inspired by the idea of people coming together, joining hands in prayer, lifting their voices in song, and marching toward freedom.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for that incredible story. I think it's very important for youth to not only, learn of Dr. King and his comrades' stories, but also the legislation that has been, put forth to make those changes official in this country. So next up and last but not least for our story time, we have Audrey Carmen from the New Britain Public Library with a story.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I am so honored and happy to be here tonight. I am going to read to you the true story of the oldest student, how Mary Walker learned to read. And this is by Rita Lorraine Hubbard and Oge Mora. The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learned to Read. Whenever young Mary Walker was tired, she would shield her eyes from the sun and watch the swallow-tailed kites dip and soar above the trees. That must be what it's like to be free, she thought. But Mary didn't watch for long. Even at only 8 years old, she knew the first rule of the Union Springs, Alabama plantation she lived on. Keep working. She knew the second rule too. Slaves should not be taught to read or write or do anything that might help them learn to do so. Mary didn't stop working. She didn't learn to read either. But at the end of each long day picking cotton, toting water to Papa and the other slaves who chopped wood for the train tracks, or helping Mama clean the big house, she would lie in her little bed next to the crumbling fireplace and think about those birds. When I'm free, I'll go where I want and rest when I want, and I'll learn to read too. When she was 15, it happened. Mary and her mother, brothers, and sisters were free. The Emancipation Proclamation said so. What it didn't say was how a family with nothing except the tattered garments on their backs could find food, clothes, and a place to sleep. Mary's father had died, and the family was on its own. Freedom Road to Freedom Road! Across fields and through woods, ex-slaves surged like waves crashing hard to shore. Now that they were free, every road was Freedom Road. Many headed north and west and every which way, searching for long-lost family members, or simply experiencing the wonder of being free. Others, like Mary, chose to stay in the South. An organization called the Freedmen's Bureau helped those who stayed to find shelter on abandoned Confederate land. Mary and her family settled in a one-room cabin, and for the next few years, she worked alongside her mama to help feed her siblings. 7 days a week, she churned butter, cleaned houses, and cared for other folks' children. The hours were long, and if Mary was thirsty or hungry or needed to use the outhouse, she had to wait until she got home. At week's end, she would offer Mama the one lonely quarter she had earned. One day, Mary met a group of evangelists on the roadside. A woman with soft wrinkles in her kindly face placed a big, beautiful Bible in Mary's hands and told her, "Your civil rights are in these pages." Mary didn't know what civil rights were. She only knew that top to bottom, front to back, that book was filled with words. "I'm going to learn to read those words," she vowed. But not today. Today there was work to be done. And tomorrow too. When Mary got married, she and her husband worked as sharecroppers, renting someone else's house, using someone else's tools, and planting someone else's seeds to farm land they would never own. After they harvested the crops, almost all the money they earned went to pay for the housing, tool, and seed costs. Mary was 20 years old when her first son was born. She opened her Bible and marveled at the squiggles inside. There had been no time to learn to read. A friend wrote Mary's son's birth date in the Bible, August 26, 1869. Then Mary dipped a pen into an inkwell and made her mark beside it. Not a letter, not a name, just a mark. It was the best she could do. One day, Mary's husband died. She married again, and a second son was born, then a third. Mary made marks for these sons too. Now she had 3 growing boys. More money, that's what we need, Mary thought. But the only other jobs available to Black women were as maids or nannies or cooks. The hours were long, with only half a day off on Saturdays, and like sharecropping, they didn't pay much. Mary sighed. Words would have to wait. For the next 4 decades, Mary sharecropped and did odd jobs to help support her family. In 1917, Mary's family moved to the little city of Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was the year of Chattanooga's Great Flood. The story was in all the newspapers, but Mary could only study the pictures to understand what had happened. By now, Mary was 68 and too old to sharecrop, but she continued to work, cooking, cleaning, and babysitting. She also fried fish, baked cakes, and sold sandwiches to raise money for her church. On Sundays, she would sit in the congregation, and as the preacher spoke, she would clutch her family Bible, the Bible she still couldn't read. When Mary was well past 90, she and her husband sat in their creaky rockers while one or another of their sons read to them. After the 2 younger boys died, the eldest read. Then Mary's husband died. Several years later, her eldest son died too. He was 94. Mary had outlived her entire family. She was 114 years old and alone. Can't read, she said, can't write. I don't know anything. Mary stood at the window of her retirement home and gazed down at the world below. Words were everywhere, on billboards, on buildings, on store windows and trucks. She sighed. All this time, she thought, and they still look like squiggles. Mary had heard about a new reading class held in her building. She pursed her lips. No more waiting, she decided. Time to learn. Out of her apartment, into an elevator, and down to the lobby she went. When the elevator doors sprang open, Mary saw people sitting under a sign with a picture of an open book. She could not read the words. A neighbor walked up to her. That's a reading class, Miss Mary. Can I help you over? Mary shook her head. Then she gripped her cane, lifted her chin, and walked straight toward that sign. For the next year and more, Mary put everything she had into learning to read. It wasn't easy, after all. She was the oldest student in the class, and probably in the entire country. Could someone her age learn to read? She didn't know, but by God, she was going to try. She studied the alphabet until her eyes watered. She memorized the sounds each letter made and practiced writing her name so many times that her fingers cramped. She learned to recognize sight words and then challenged herself to make short sentences with them. She studied and studied until books and pages and letters and words swirled in her head while she slept. One fine day, Mary's hard work paid off. She can read. Word of her accomplishment traveled, and people everywhere celebrated with her. Chattanooga's mayor, newspaper journalists across the country, and a man from the U.S. Department of Education who said, Mrs. Mary Walker, I pronounce you the nation's oldest student. All shared her joy. Mary felt complete. She still missed her sons, But whenever she was lonely, she read from her Bible or looked out her window and read the words on the street below. From then on, Chattanoogans honored Mary's achievement with yearly birthday parties. In 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson sent well wishes on Mary's 118th birthday. And in 1969, President Richard Nixon did the same. Mary was now 121 years old. Mary received many gifts over the years: a radio, a sofa, her very first television, a new Bible, the key to the city, and perfume and champagne from the Canadian Mounties. She also received something that brought back those long days in the Alabama cotton fields: her first airplane ride. From the cockpit window, Mary gazed at the trees and rooftops below. No different than a horse and buggy ride, she joked. But she knew it was. As the airplane dipped and soared like those swallow-tailed kites of long ago, Mary decided that flying was a lot like reading. They both made a body feel as free as a bird. Each year, before her birthday celebration came to an end, someone would whisper, "Let's listen to Miss Mary." The shuffling and movement would fade away until not a sound was heard. Then Mary would stand on her old legs, clear her old throat, and read from her Bible or her school book in a voice that was clear and strong. When she finished, she would gently close her book and say, "You're never too old to learn." The end.
I forgot to encourage people to do an applause, but thank you so much for an incredible story, Miss Audrey. I want to, as we move on, I want to encourage all of our participants and viewers to comment what their favorite story of the night was and let us know. And in the meantime, Audrey, I want to give you the opportunity to fill us in on what's going on at the library and anything we should know. All three of these books were recommended by you and can be loaned from the library. So anything you want to touch upon?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello again. So I know that this has been a tough time for all of us, and the New Britain Public Library wants to help where we can. So to that effect, I want to tell you that the library is open 9 to 6, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5 on Friday, and 10 to 5 on Saturday. And if you were not comfortable coming into the library, we totally understand. We offer curbside service for all your books and materials. And the children's department is offering take and make crafts and book bundles of pre-selected materials. So you can go in and out. And I also want to give a shout out to our online story times, which are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. on the library's Facebook page. So there you go.
Thank you, Audrey. And I want to give a huge thank you to our special guests again, Captain Mickens and Pastors Rasheen and Bridget Brown. Excellent storytelling, and we're just so happy that you're able to be a part of this celebration with us. So for one of the exciting parts of the evening, the book giveaway, I should say, not only is this winner getting all three books from tonight, but we also have a very fun and full goodie bag for that winner from the museum shop. So we randomly, as the story time was in the midst of the story time, we randomly selected a viewer from tonight, and I've passed the sealed envelope to Miss Audrey virtually. So Miss Audrey, would you like to announce who the lucky winner is of the giveaway?
Yes, it would be my pleasure. So the winner is Talia Rodriguez. So congratulations. Yay.
So Talia, if you'd like, just so we can arrange for you to pick up the bag, if you can directly or privately message me in the chat box with an email address or phone number that I can contact you at. Awesome. Okay, so now for the second half of tonight's program, I'd like to turn our attention to some amazing kids right here in New Britain. All right, so in the weeks leading up to tonight's program, the NBMAA and its community advisory group had asked local students to join us in this celebration of Dr. King. And focusing on Dr. King's hallmark message of love, students were charged to pick a favorite Dr. King quote and create some sort of art form in response to it. And all of the students' creations can be viewed in a Facebook album on the museum's Facebook page. So be sure to go to Facebook. You can look us up by typing in NBMAA, go into our photos tab, and you'll see a whole art exhibition of students' works. And some of the works you saw earlier in this evening, and I will share my screen just to give particular attention to those artworks. Okay. So we are so impressed with the students' creativity, eloquence, and social awareness, which shines through in all of the writings and artworks that we received over the last few weeks. But we want to recognize a particular group of students who went above and beyond. And that is Mrs. Fitzsimmons' sixth graders at Hal's Academy, who not only created individual artworks and poems, but they submitted an entire slideshow presentation, which you are viewing right now. Their slides can also be viewed in the Facebook album on the museum's Facebook page. And I know in the interest of time, we can't go through each and every one of them and give them as much attention as they deserve, so I apologize, but we wanted to congratulate and bring attention to these students' amazing work. So I really want to ask if Mrs. Fitzsimmons is here, Principal Leona Clerkin, and any students from the sixth grade class to just unmic and make any remarks that you'd like, but also they deserve a round of applause as well. So
thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
yeah.
I am so proud of you guys, so proud.
I want to thank Ms. Fitz for being such a great teacher.
Oh my gosh, Adam. Thank you so much. You did an awesome job.
The students did a great job. I'm so very proud of them. And this is such a historic day to obviously welcome our newly elected president, Joe Biden, but also to welcome Kamala Harris, our first female vice president, and our first person of color to be vice president. So it's such an exciting historic day. And also this week to celebrate MLK's birthday as well. I couldn't be prouder of our students and Mrs. Fitzsimmons. They're always so warm and welcoming when I say we've got an opportunity here, and everybody just went above and beyond and did a great job. I'm very proud of all the kids at Hal's Academy. Thank you.
Well, I should also mention that to show our appreciation for the students' hard work, we are gifting each of the sixth graders a special creative caring kit. Our director of education at the museum, Maura O'Shea, had this brilliant idea when the museum temporarily closed down. We couldn't invite students to tour and make art anymore with us, to assemble these kits that include activities and materials inspired by an artwork at the museum. So this little bag has the supplies and the instructions, everything you need to make your own Dale Chihuly sculpture. So all of you will be receiving these. Very excited about that. All right. So the last portion of tonight, we're doing good on time. I'm very surprised. The last portion of the evening is a very special one. 2021 marks the first year that the NBMAA is presenting the Martin Luther King Service Award. It's an award in honor of the memory of Dr. King. I think in the current state of the country right now and the crises that we faced, we felt it was a great obligation to recognize local youth who are stepping up and contributing to their community. And so the MLK Service Award is presented to a youth member or a youth group who demonstrates a commitment to community service and carries out the ideals and principles of Dr. King, such as diversity, equality. And while there's many remarkable youth in New Britain who demonstrate service during these hard times, one story in particular stuck out to us. Over the last year, with the help of their mother, Melody, Mariah Cubano and Tyshawn Yap launched a project called Black Characters Matter to raise money to get books featuring African American and characters of color in school libraries. Even at the budding ages of 9 and 5, Mariah and Tyshawn noticed representation of African Americans in children's books was nominal, and they wanted to change that. With a goal to purchase 500 books, so 50 books per New Britain public school, Mariah and Tyshawn have surpassed that. They've raised over $11,000 for children's books. Very impressive. Their astounding efforts and initiative are the driving forces behind changes for a better future, a future that Dr. King had dreamt of. And I was working during the inauguration today. I was in a meeting, but I went back and was scrolling through, articles and things and videos, and the National Youth Poet Laureate said at inauguration today, this country is not broken, but it's simply unfinished. And I think that the work that Mariah and Tyshawn are doing are gonna finish this country. So it's my pleasure to announce the recipients of this year's MLK Service Award to Mariah Cubano and Tyshawn Yap. And let's give them a virtual applaud. We have the principal of Vance Elementary, Sarah Harris, here, and we also have Mariah's teachers, Miss Murphy and Miss Amelfa here. So please unmute and give any remarks that you'd like. I also want to obviously let Mariah and Tyshawn accept their award too. Do Sarah Harris or any of Mariah's teachers want to say anything first?
I'm Mariah's teacher, and I just wanted to say how proud I am of both Ty and Mariah, and they're just an inspiration to everyone. And, I'm so lucky to have Mariah in my class this year and Ty in the future. So congratulations to both of them.
All right, so Mariah and Tyshawn will receive official award certificates for their achievements, as well as a big tote again. But inside this big tote is a little envelope. And the little envelope is a year-long family membership to the New Britain Museum of American Art. And I hope that you both find inspiration in the artworks that we have in the museum. I heard that you both like to create art yourselves. So I hope you find inspiration by visiting the museum and can take some classes. We do virtual, but also when it's safe to return and take classes at the museum. There's art materials in your goodie bag as well from the museum shop. So, create away.
Hi, everyone. This is Sarah Harris. I'm the principal of Vance School. Congratulations to Mariah and Ty. We are so proud of you. We are so lucky that you go to Vance School, and we're very lucky that we have your mom who works at our school as well. But they are incredible role models for all of the peers and all of the students at Vance. But bottom line, we needed to get more books with characters of color in our schools. budget cuts have taken place, so we haven't been able to order the way we wanted to. So this summer, it really was incredible to have the outreach, to have a GoFundMe page and the amount of donations that were given. But Mariah and Tai went around and shared their message. And I truly hope they get to say a few words tonight because they are very inspirational. And it does not matter how old you are. It's incredible to be inspired by two young students, a fourth grader and a kindergartner, who really are on a mission. And that's truly what they've been doing. They, the amount of books that have been given to our Vance School Library, which include more characters of color, which we need to get in our classrooms and in our school so that students can connect and relate to characters that look like them. And that is what is so meaningful, how having this award today on a very special day, because many students shared today seeing Kamala Harris get sworn in saying she looks like me, and that's pretty inspirational. So to Mariah and Tai, I hope you continue with your message. I know they're working hard to get more books, not just at Vance, but throughout the city and throughout the state, because it is very meaningful. We're very proud of you. And I truly hope that, and I also wanted to say a reach out and shout out to the Hal students. Some of you are Vance former students, but so proud of you and all of your great work. Those were some incredible, obviously monumental and so meaningful today. So thank you for your hard work. But thank you, everyone. Congratulations to Mariah and Tai. Sean, we're so proud of you. Thank you for helping Vance School shine, and our New Britain students, thank you for helping us shine. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. Mariah, Tyshawn. Mariah, I know you've spoken publicly. You are an excellent poet. Is there anything you want to share with us tonight or say?
Yes. Thank you. Getting the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award means a lot to us. And Dr. King taught us that we should be equal even in our libraries. Seeing a character that looks like us makes us happy. We want to make sure that there are always books in our libraries for all kids to read and enjoy. We want to make sure the books and not all go through a lot of books before they find one that represents them. We want to make sure books are out on display, not only on Black History Month. We want to thank Ms. Clark for helping start the mission, Ms. Harris for always supporting us, and Ms. D, our librarian, for our help, and Ms. Murphy and Ms. Amalfa for saying kind words to us, and the New Britain Museum of Arts for the award, and our parents for always teaching us to use our voice because it's powerful. Black Character Matter mission continues, and you can follow our journey at rise_way. And thank you to everyone who is here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
It's our pleasure to present you with that award, and you know, your voices do matter. So thank you so much, you guys, for the work that you've done for the public schools here in New Britain. If no one else wants to make any remarks, I'll leave the floor open. But if no one else does, thank you to our special guests, Captain Mickens, Pastors Rasheen and Bridget Brown. Thank you to our friends at Howells Academy, our friends at Vance Elementary, to New Britain Public Library for partnering with us on tonight's event. This was such a fun time and a great opportunity to come together and learn about Dr. King's life and the importance of service and carrying out his message. So we hope that you'll join us for the 2 final virtual events we're hosting this week as part of our Power of Love series. Tomorrow night, we have an open mic event hosted by Adrienne Elliott. We have some excellent performances lined up for you, all focusing around love. We have a belly dancer, we have a poet, we have singer-songwriter, a band, we have almost everything. So it's going to be a good time. And then on Friday, to close out our Martin Luther King celebration, Grace Church will be presenting a Reflect and Rejoice performance. So all the information and registration links for these events can be found on the museum's website by going to nbmaa.org. I hope to see you all there, and everyone take care.